Okay, so for this hearing, I will ask you to call the roll for those that are here.
Okay. Bostrom,
Present.
Davis,
Here.
Deutsch,
Here?
LaPlante,
Present.
Nunez,
Present.
Quintanilla,
Present.
Solomon.
Present.
We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open our public hearing on a petition to implement trustee area voting in the Bellflower Unified School District. The purpose of this hearing will be explained by our secretary to the county committee. Madam Secretary?
Good evening, everyone. My name is April Mitchell, and I am sitting proxy for our Secretary of the County Committee. At this juncture, I will request Mr. Haas to provide a background and the status on this petition.
Okay, thank you. Pursuant to provisions of California Education Code 5019, the county committee has received a proposal to implement trustee areas and trustee area voting in the Bellflower Unified School District. Notice of today's hearing was published in a local newspaper and on the school district's website and physical site, as well as the website and physical site of the Los Angeles County Office of Education. In addition, materials related to tonight's hearing are here available across the room at the table. The purpose of this hearing is to solicit input from the impacted district and from any member of the public who's directly affected by the proposed changes, as well as afford an additional opportunity to hear from the local community to assist the county committee in making its determination regarding the feasibility of this proposed reorganization. The county committee meets on the first Wednesday of each month in the boardroom of Los Angeles County Office of Education in Downey at 9300 Imperial Highway. These meetings provide an additional forum for parties to address the committee. Additionally, comments may be sent in writing to the county committee secretary. Comments can then be forwarded to county committee members for consideration. On May 24th, 2024, the Bellflower Unified School District submitted a petition in the form of a board resolution and a board-approved trustee area map proposing to implement trustee areas and trustee area voting pursuant to California Education Code 5019, Section C, subsection 1. The petition was presented to a county committee when it met last Wednesday on June 5th. Under the Education Code, the county committee must hold at least one public hearing in the impacted district, and afterward, the county committee will hear a feasibility study, which was conducted by staff to the county committee. The study focuses on evaluating the conditions that the county committee considers substantive for school districts in this particular area of Los Angeles County. Should the county committee approve the proposal, the change to trustee areas and trustee area voting may be instituted at the next regularly scheduled general election, which would be November 5th, 2024. Staff to the county committee will assist the district in conveying its electronic map and its data to the county register recorder pending approval. Notwithstanding an appeal to the State Board of Education, should the county committee disapprove the proposal, the process based on the current map would be terminated. If the county committee approves the petition but disapproves the map, the county committee will develop alternative trustee area maps. An important note to remember is that the county committee deliberates on matters related to school district boundaries only, not city boundaries. Los Angeles County, as in most counties throughout the state, school district boundaries are distinct from city boundaries. They are governed by separate authorities and regulations. School district boundaries and city boundaries are rarely coterminous.
Can I make additional comment?
Sure.
This proposal also included a request for a waiver to waive the election confirming the trustee area plan. It's not a waiver of the regular election or any candidate status. It's just a waiver of an election needed to confirm the trustee area plan.
Thank you, Dr. Deegan.
Thank you. I will now explain how the hearing will be conducted. The Bellflower Unified School District will have 20 minutes maximum to make a presentation. Members of the public who would like to speak in support of the proposal will then have the opportunity, in the order they are called, followed by members of the proposal who oppose the proposal. Each member of the public who wishes to speak will have 2 minutes to address the county committee. That time limit may be limited to less than that at the chair's discretion in order to accommodate everyone who wants to speak. The total time will not exceed 45 minutes for the public hearing for the proponents and 45 minutes for all the opponents. At the end of the public testimony, the chief petitioner, the school district, will have 5 minutes maximum to summarize if they choose to do so. At this time, I would like the representatives of the Bellflower Unified School District to begin their 20-minute presentation.
Good evening.
Please give us one moment to switch the presentation and start the timer.
Sure.
You may begin.
Okay, good evening. My name is Lisa Azevedo. I currently serve as the interim superintendent for Bellflower Unified School District. I would like to thank the County Commission on District Organization for joining us this evening. We realize that your time is precious, and we appreciate your time and dedication to this opportunity. We understand, obviously, that this is a very extremely busy time of year, and so we're going to present to you the process that we have taken with our district. We began this process in February with a board discussion item. In March, our board was provided a presentation by NDC regarding CRVA compliance, and in April, they approved a resolution of intent to transition to by trustee area. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is information and process that we took to support within our community. So very brief background on Bellflower Unified School District. Our district consists of 10 elementary schools that serve students in TK 6 grades. We have 2 comprehensive high schools in grades 7-12, a continuation high school, an alternative ed high school, a TK 12 independent study academy. So that gives you a grand total of 15 schools. We have over 1,000 certificated and classified staff. Our total enrollment currently is a little over 9,800 students. A little over 79% of those students are SED or socioeconomically disadvantaged, 17% English learner, close to 1% of foster youth, 2.3% of homeless, 16, a little bit more than 16% students with disabilities. You can see our ethnic breakdown in that right-hand corner graph. Within our district, we have special programs and services, as well as distinguished awards and accreditations. I'm not going to read all of those to you, but I will highlight a few of them. Specialty programs and services that we provide, we obviously provide Title I funding for our schools. We have lots of professional development. We focus on MTSS, or the multi-tiered system of support for our students. We have elementary music programs. We have dual immersion Spanish. We have one of our schools that's transitioning to a DI school. We have counseling and mental health services for all of our students. We have a special home education independent study academy. And some of our distinguished awards and accreditations, we have 7 gold ribbon schools. We have 5 Title I achievement schools. All of our high schools right now have their 6-year WASC accreditation, which is a huge feat. And again, our Independent Study Academy has also gone through that WASC accreditation. Our district demographics, I am going to turn that over to Doug from NDC. Doug Johnson is going to be presenting with me, so we're going to do this a little bit collaboratively. So I'm going to ask Doug to come up and present this particular slide. Thank you.
Just briefly, you've seen slides like this before. It is a very diverse district. In terms of total population, just over half of the total population is Hispanic or Latino. You can see that in the top left, total population. And then a plurality of the citizen voting age population, or the eligible voters, are Latino at 46%. And then we do have a lot of language spoken at home. About a little over a third is Spanish spoken at home. So it is a very diverse community that they're dealing with here. And you can see all the other stats, but I won't take the time to go through all of them.
So most importantly, I'm going to share with you our community outreach for this process. So what we went through is a series of hearing notices. We have a social media announcement that we sent out to our community. We basically had our public hearings. Involved in that social media announcement was a website, or a tab to our website with all of the demographic information, the entire process of this organization, along with steps that they could take to get involved. If they were interested in responding, we provided them a link, and we're going to share that with you in the next slide here. All of the information that we shared with our community was both in English and in Spanish. What you're looking at right now is a screenshot of our social media. This is one of our announcements. So every Friday we send home a communication to our families, and that is done again in English and in Spanish. That's sent home every Friday, so they've got a link and it shows those public hearing dates coming up. We also did a paper flyer, so the traditional kind of old school paper method where we sent home information to all of our elementary students and their families. Again, that was done in both English and in Spanish. And this is what it looks like if you went to our district website and clicked on that district organization tab. You can see all the individual components of that. So we happened to click on one of them, that's the redistricting. So if they were to click on that redistricting, it gave them all of the background and information on that particular piece. If you were to click on the public mapping tool, again, it gave them all of the specific information and links. If they wanted to go to that public mapping tool and begin the process of developing a map, it gave them directions of how to do so and took them right there to the information. And you'll see in your packet this evening that our community provided 10 additional map proposals, so you'll find those tonight. And then again, public input was encouraged. They had a website to go to, they had a phone number to call, and they had a public comment email address. So for each one of those hearings, our community had the opportunity to submit public comment questions, and we would address it at our board meeting. I'm now going to turn this over to Doug, who's going to provide some information to you.
So, thank you, and good to see you again. We are early in this new era of the Fair Maps Act now applying to school districts as of January 1st. And the process is really largely unchanged. We have 2 pre-map hearings, 2 pre-draft map hearings, 2 post-draft map hearings, and we still have the same posting requirement we did before. All that really changes in the process for a districting project is that we have to do an analysis of whether majority-minority districts can be drawn. That was done here. And if there was a polarized voting analysis, the law now says that has to be released. And there was no such analysis done in this project. The big change, of course, is that the criteria of the Fair Maps Act now apply to the maps as drawn by the school board. So it's not so much a process change as a criteria change. In terms of that process, the district did move fairly quickly. This is because of a demand letter that went to a neighboring district, and so the district proactively reacted to that, anticipating it was coming here, since in part both the cities of Bellflower and Lakewood have been challenged and had to switch. So in February they looked at, they discussed the issue. In March they came back and gave direction to, the board gave direction saying, yes, let's kick off this process. We then came in April with 2 hearings. These were the informational, educational hearings before there were draft maps. Release maps April 18th. A week later had the first hearing, and May 9th had the second hearing on those draft maps. And as the superintendent mentioned, despite the fast timeline, I think in part thanks to the extensive outreach that the district did, we did get 10 maps submitted by residents and considered by the board in this process. That led ultimately to May 23rd with the adoption of the map and tonight's meeting. And obviously we're on the clock with the county to get this in place in time to implement for this year's election, which is the goal. As I mentioned, the district did comply with the requirements of releasing the reports under Election Code 2130 that we'll all be hearing a lot about over the coming years. And said, yes, it is possible to draw a trustee area where Latinos are a majority of the eligible voter population by CVAP. And so the recommended map does include that. And the district did not perform a polarized voting analysis, and so there was nothing to release there. In terms of the requirements for the waiver, you all have seen this language many times. Essentially, if the transition to trustee area elections furthers the purposes of the California Voting Rights Act, right there at the end of the top paragraph, then we can request and the county committee can grant a waiver relieving the need to hold an election where the voters would say yes or no, switch to transit to trustee area elections. And sure enough, as I mentioned, we can draw a majority Latino seat. The district preferred map does include a majority Latino seat, and that does increase the Latino percentage from 46% at large to 3 of the 5 trustee areas actually have Latino percentages over 46%, including one that's a majority. So in that way, we are furthering the purposes of the California Voting Rights Act, as roughly 1,000 cities, school districts, and special districts have done before us. As I mentioned, the districting rules and goals, these are the big changes, right? Before, we only had the federal laws, the equal population, follow the Federal Voting Rights Act, and no racial gerrymandering. Then school districts had a lot of flexibility. Now we have the California criteria in prioritized order, have to be contiguous, avoid divisions of neighborhoods and communities of interest. The really odd new one this January is avoid division of cities and census designated places, which actually is an issue when I'll talk about the maps here. Follow easily identifiable boundaries and be compact. Don't bypass one group of people to get to another group of people. And at the same time, we have the new prohibition, shall not adopt election district boundaries for purposes of favoring or discriminating against an incumbent political candidate or party. The last traditional redistricting principle of future population growth isn't a statutory requirement and wasn't really a consideration in any of the maps here. Included this just in case we want to come back to it as part of the discussion. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but the statute now spells out in very extensive language what is a community of interest. The key thing is it's a community that would benefit from being kept together in a single trustee area. So historically, we used to talk about some areas might benefit from being kept in 2 trustee areas. Those are not under the statute of community of interest. It's only an area that should be included in 1 trustee area. In terms of how do we comply with a no favoring or discriminating clause, while we were drafting the maps, NDC, we did not know where the incumbents were. So the initial maps that started this process were drawn with no knowledge of where any candidate or trustee lived. The way we did that is we would draft the maps, give them to legal counsel. Legal counsel then, on their own, without showing us, looked up where the trustees lived and how that would dictate the election sequence. Because we are caught in this little catch-22, where we're not supposed to favor discriminating against incumbents, but where the incumbents are does dictate the sequence, as you know well. So that's how we handle that process to keep it clear of any concerns about favoring or discriminating against an incumbent candidate or political party. The maps that are in this PowerPoint and that are in your packets that show the incumbent locations were prepared after the board voted. So these are the ones that you all request. They're not what was shown to the board at the time. So I'll start with our 3. Oops. Weird. Okay, so the first 3 maps were drawn by NDC. We drew the initial draft maps to kick this process off and took very different ideas in each map. So map 101 on the left here is trying to follow school attendance areas. We can't do it perfectly because of population requirements. Obviously, school attendance is not drawn on total population. But each of these is trying to follow the school attendance areas as much as we can and the major features of the district. The biggest feature you see, the diagonal line at the bottom of 2 and above 3 and 4, that's the railroad cutting through the city. And that foot coming off of 2 to the southeast, that actually is the shape of the attendance area there. So that's why that kind of foot extends that way. Then we get down, essentially the 4 up north are the ones that are following the school attendance areas. We have an unusual situation here where the City of Lakewood portion of the school district is almost exactly 1 trustee area population. And so in compliance with that state criterion of keeping cities together, it's together in all the NDC drawn maps. So with 101, we have school attendance areas. 102 is more focused on following major roads. Now, they're not perfectly straight all the way through the district, in part because of the railroad and in part because of population requirements. But you can see each of the kind of stair steps between 1 and 2 and between 2 and 4 and 3 and 4 are all following major roads. So those would all be really easy for residents to understand because they're bounded by major roads. On the left, we have the first or the last of the NDC drawn maps. This one is really inspired by the city council map. The idea being voters here are used to organizing based on the city council districts, so that odd shape of 2 where it comes across the north, that's following the city council district boundary that's in place. The city council district does, and the city actually extend north out of the school district. But that's why that odd shape through the neighborhood, because we're following the community of the city council district. Then it comes over and picks up a little more population coming farther south than the council district does. But you can really see in that one the major roads kicking in, where we really almost had 4 quadrants for those 4 seats, and then the Lakewood seat. Then we got 2 of the early resident drawn maps, 106 and 107, both based very closely on 103. So obviously they were starting from 103, and instead of following kind of through the neighborhood like the council district does, they're keeping that general area together, but moving the boundary over to follow the major roads. In 106 and 107, that boundary between 1 and 2 up in the north is following major roads instead of carving through the neighborhood. So that's the biggest difference there. And then you get 3 and 4, the green and blue, 2 different approaches. 106 goes straight down, 107 zigs a little bit, but follows bigger roads. Then we had a set of 4 resident drawn maps, all of which came in with Lakewood divided. So this was an interest from the community in having 2 seats that would have large portions of their voters coming from Lakewood. This was discussed in the meetings. The residents obviously had the opportunity to present their maps. But because of the state statute saying cities that can be kept together more or less have to be kept together, these are not maps that the board went with.
You have 4 minutes.
Yep. Oh, thank you. So those 4 are all different approaches to that idea. And then we got one map. The other one that you may have noticed wasn't in the number order. Map 108 came in. It was resident drawn, but it's not population balanced. It's close. It's off by its total deviations a little over 11%, but it was shown to the board, but not considered because it was not population balanced. Then we came back with, in the second hearing, with a handful of revised maps. Map 113, again, came in from a resident. Very small changes to 106, but very similar to it. And then we got 3 new versions, all of which had the divided Lakewood approach. You can see generally more compact than the first round of divided Lakewood maps, but still with the city divided down there, which was a concern. So the board did select map 113. It was a unanimous 5-0 vote, which is nice to see. There are no splits of any cities or census designated places in this map. Actually, every boundary follows a major road as closely as possible by the census blocks. You can see between 2 and 3, there's a little zig in there because the census block doesn't follow the railroad for some reason. And so that's following the railroad as closely as we can using the census geography that we're required to use. Obviously, you can just tell from looking at it, highly compact. Areas 2 and 3 are majority Latino by citizen voting age population. Area 1 is just short of majority, but of course these are 4 or 5-year-old data that we're using for citizen voting age population. I think it's 48% in the data. It's probably majority by now. And then the resulting sequence you can see at the bottom, 3 and 4 would be in 2024. 1, 2, and 5 would be in 2026. There's one seat that has a pairing, and so there's 1 vacant seat, so there's no need for the drawing by lots that's in the statute when there's 2 vacant seats. And then we just include the demographics. This is where you can see the numbers for 2 and 3 by citizen voting age percentage and all the other data that we're happy to talk about. So
You have 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry?
2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, this is my final slide, so we're perfect. So in the end, the request from the district is that you approve the transition, that you approve the board-selected map 113, and that you approve the waiver of the election requirement. Obviously, there's lawyers running around, and we want to avoid any legal liability that could come in. The lawyer who has been active in the area does have a history of trying to cancel elections and require special elections to be held, which of course is an enormous expense and a turnout issue for the district. So that's our request, that you approve these measures, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
There we go.
So now I will call for the proponents, and given the number of proponents that I see to speak, I will increase the minutes for speaking to 3 minutes. So we will begin with the proponents that are in the room, and that we will start with Amy Stewart.
Good evening. Good evening, county and guests. My name is Amy Stewart, and I am our current Bellflower Unified School Board Vice President, and I'm here to discuss my support for MAP 113. I was born and raised in Bellflower, so I've lived here my entire life, and I support MAP 113 for many reasons. Most importantly, MAP 113 was voted on unanimously, 5-0, by our school board, and supported by the community during the hearings. So I ask that you continue to support our local decisions. We spent a full month researching and talking to community members, and this is the map that we felt was best. Going through the districting rules and goals, this map follows all federal laws, which was number 1. Following number 2, the California criteria, this map is geographically contiguous. The deviation is 6.53 and within the guidelines. The socioeconomic geographic areas are kept together. And I believe this map best divides the communities of interest for the purpose of effective and fair representation and shared socioeconomic characteristics. 3 areas have a total population of Hispanics above the district total. 3 areas have a total population of Blacks above the district's total. And 2 areas have a total population of Asian American Pacific Islander above the district's total. Districts 1, 3, and 4 are primarily renters, while districts 2 and 5 are primarily owners, so I think those are split very well. The map avoids the divisions of cities and census-designated places, and it has easy identifiable boundaries going north and south. So one thing about our district, historically, we have always been a north-south district. Every year we have back to and south, and we have open house north and south. So this map being a north-south map, kind of sticks with what we have done in our district. This map also separates Flora Vista. The railroad tracks, they essentially go right through the middle of our city, and so I think it really does a good job, and it's a really important physical boundary and natural dividing line. So I like that about this map, and it doesn't bypass one group to get to another group that's more distant group of people. Also, following number 2, the California prohibition, we have not adopted district boundaries for the purpose of favoring or discriminating against an incumbent, political candidate, or political party. Every map that was submitted had at least 2 candidates in one of the districts, so that was something that we could not avoid or be considered. So we did not do that. Also, I understand that the schools cannot be a predominant consideration, but the location of the school communities kind of happens organically in this map. District 1 has 2 schools, District 2 has 3 schools, District 3 has 2 schools, District 4 has 2 schools, and then District 5 has 5 schools, but that's the Lakewood area that we wanted to try to keep together. So this kind of happens in that this map as well. Because of all the reasons I have laid out, I hope that you will support our board's decision, and I thank you so much for coming and hearing us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. April O'Connor.
Hi, my name is April O'Connor. I'm actually the union president for Paramount Unified, and we went through this process last year. And as you said before, this is kind of a rushed process. We did it really rushed in Paramount, and so I just wanted to share a couple things with you because I do believe when we went through this process, this actually is it better for our representation for our school district and for our students. And a couple things too, it also reinforces local control. Whether you want this or not, it's going to happen. You know, the lawyers are out there, the people are going to sue, and going to trustee areas is going to happen eventually. So I appreciate the fact that we went through this quickly, and I have to say this process I've been watching, you know, from afar. Basically, it's organic, but it seems natural the way that you have the map 113 seems to divide up, and I think it's something that residents will appreciate how they're kept their communities together. A couple of things I wanted to say too, though, is that one of the reasons why I think this is very important, though, and I see that in our district, is that this is really going to be key in making sure the representation of our students and our families is showing up at our school board meetings. And I think it's very important for us to make sure that we have those voices. And so this adheres to that. So I appreciate the fact that you're going through this process. I know it's not fun to do this. And it also is nice to avoid lawsuits, which is also nice. But I hope you would support MAP 113. And I do appreciate the fact that we're representing our members of the district. Thank you.
Thank you. David Ariano.
Hello, good evening. I'm David Ariano with Lakewood City Council. Thank you for taking the time out. Just want to take a moment to let you know our support for City of Lakewood and commend Bellflower School District on the process. We had just came off of forced ticketing of districts, and it was a pretty lengthy process, and it kind of split up the community and messed with some of the people that were running. So to see the timely manner and what's going on, to look at it from afar, we're served by the Bellflower community. We have four school districts, so I appreciate the hard work that they all put in and the amount of time and how they let the community know what's going on. So I'm here to say that I'm in support of 113, obviously for a lot of reasons that were shared. I like the fair representation, both for similar social economic characteristics. The boundaries, in my opinion, they're fair also. And it shows when they put everything out there, accountability and transparency. So I like the fact that they let the community be a part of everything going on, and they could weigh in how they feel about the map. And it showed that the community, along with the school district, was in favor of MAP 113. So just want to say thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Anthony Ramirez.
Good evening, Chairperson Solomon and county committee staff and all the other guests and visitors, our own school board. My name is Anthony Ramirez, and I am a longtime Bellflower Unified School District classified employee. I'm also here representing the classified employees of the district. I would concur with the board's process and resolution and the distillation of all the different components of the map. We do think that they've paid the proper attention and they've done the due diligence to accommodate all the different requirements that are involved in reaching their decision. I would like to add that quite a few of the classified employee workers for the Bellflower Unified School District are also residents of the district, so they cross over the stakeholder groups. And they dovetail rather neatly within this community, and a lot of them have expressed their interest and their support for this process, and they've been following it very closely. We've done a little bit of internal analysis, and we are in agreement with MAP 113. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Michelle Cuellar.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Cuellar, CSEA President, Classified Union President, but I'm also a resident of Bellflower for the past 34 years. My children have gone through the school district, and I have been an employee of BUSD for 17 years. I've come to speak in favor of 113. The board, can you hear me? The board has done their due diligence in getting all the information and setting up, having the community be involved, and what's greatly appreciated. A big reason to come and speak for it is because the board did vote unanimously 5-0 for this. So it seems to me that they are all in agreement with this map. Along with all the other issues that everybody has brought up, the identifiable boundaries, the main streets, keeping Lakewood as its own city, we are in total agreement with it. So thank you.
Thank you. If I'm reading this correctly, Brad Cryfield?
It's as close as anybody gets. It's fine. It's Critchfield, but
Okay.
there's some missing letters, so it's okay. Thank you. I'm Brad Critchfield. I'm the president of the Bellflower Unified School District School Board. I want to say thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Vice Chair, and members of the committee for being here tonight. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you to our staff, because this process has been pretty lengthy, and they put in a lot of work for this process. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done throughout this process. I'm a father of two young girls that go in the district. I'm also a safety commissioner for the city of Lakewood. I'm very involved in the city. I know our city very well. I've had a lot of conversations with residents about this districting process and the maps, and I'm in support of map 113. There we go, a little walkout music. I like it. As said earlier, map 113 was voted on unanimously by our board 5-0. And there were a lot of points that my colleague Ms. Stewart brought up that I won't repeat, but it does seem to check all the boxes when going through this process. It makes the most sense for our board, obviously, and also the community. I do think map 113 is the right choice for our community. And again, I want to say thank you for your time and your effort in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, handwriting time again here. Robin Mitzbalj.
Hi there, I'm Robin Moots-Balog. I have been a teacher in this district for 16 years. I am the secondary director of the Teachers Union, BTA. So couple things for our board and you. We will just want to say thank you so much for being proactive with this process to ensure equity so that all of our stakeholders are well represented. After looking at the release maps, map number 113 overwhelmingly meets the criteria, the required state criteria, in addition to meeting all federal criteria. All of the presented maps meet criteria number 1. Criteria number 2 was to avoid the division of neighborhoods and communities of interest. After doing some independent research, I found that the Egyptian community is growing in the city of Bellflower. It has the 6th highest percentage of Egyptian residents in the state, and it is continuing to grow. District number 1 does a good job of keeping St. George Coptic Church community together. Criteria number 3 avoids the division of cities, keeping Lakewood together in District 5 and includes all of Cerritos in District number 4. Criteria number 4 is easily identifiable boundary lines. This map's boundary lines are along main city streets and are very easy to identify. For criteria number 5, this map is as compact as it can be while meeting all of the other requirements mentioned earlier. Some data points. The population numbers are well spread out, as are the voter registration numbers when looking at it. The numbers show that the percent deviation of all the districts is only at 6.53%. Additionally, our Asian and Pacific Islanders are very closely represented in all districts. And the total number of students in Bellflower Unified School District identified as Hispanic is 68%. 3 of the districts on map number 113 are at approximately 60% Hispanic, and the total number of our Black students in the district is 13%. With this map, 3 districts have a Black population of 14% or more. Map 113 seems to reflect our school population very closely and ensures that all stakeholders are well represented while meeting all state and federal criteria. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers for proponents in the room. Are there any proponents online?
No.
No. I have not received a list of opponents to speak. Dr. Deegan?
Yes, as far as we know, there are no opponents in the room, but we did receive one opponent email, and it's in your folders. We were gathering them up late last week to see if any more came in, and that's the only one we received, pro or con. So if the committee wants to take a moment to review that email, they can do it. It's from an opponent.
Okay. Thank you. So we have no opponents to speak in the room. Are there any online?
No.
No. So that concludes the allotted time for general public to speak on this matter, proponents and opponents. Would the Bellflower Unified School District like to do a 5-minute summation?
So I will not take up 5 minutes, but I do want to say I do again appreciate the effort and the time. Again, I'll reiterate, MAP 113 did go through all the criterias, and again, the amount of effort that went into the community outreach. It's more outreach and engagement than I have seen in other communities and cities. And I was very impressed by the amount of work that went into it from a staff and a board angle. And the amount of maps that came in, the amount of input over the course of this process has been tremendous. I'm supportive of map 113, and I hope you'll support our school board's decision for that map. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so following this public hearing, we go back to our special meeting. Members of the county committee may choose to ask questions of the school district representatives after hearing the feasibility study on the petition from the staff. If anyone has any further written comments, they may submit them and have input at our regular monthly meetings. And written comments may be mailed to Los Angeles County Committee School District on School District Organization, care of the Los Angeles County Office of Education. Attention, Octavio Costello at 9300 Imperial Highway, Downey, California, 90242. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So move.
Been moved by Mr. Bostrom and seconded by Mr. Davis to adjourn this public hearing. It's a roll call vote.
Bostrom,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Deutsch,
Yes.
LaPlante,
Yes.
Nunez,
Yes.
Quintanilla,
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.